everyone, it's Anthony Gerhardt. Today is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2010. You've may have noticed some changes around campus recently. Some big signs, people passing out t-shirts, food, their firstborns. That's right, it's election week. In case you've been out of the loop lately, there are 3 candidates running for student body president: Jacob Robinson, Matt Okeson, and Bryan Sims. If you haven't checked it out already, you can check out their video interviews at youtube.com/batmedia. Yesterday, a debate was held and the 3 candidates conveyed each of their separate policies. Be sure to vote today and tomorrow at vote.tamu.edu.
My legislative agenda, as far as the Texas legislature goes, is going to be dealing with making sure that we continue to advocate for low tuition increases, and making sure that we are dealing with budget cuts in the best way possible. I know it's going to be something that comes up in the 82nd session coming up in the next year. As far as my legislative agenda at Texas A&M University, if you've seen my platform, you can see a lot of issues that I hope to tackle over the coming year. The first and foremost, making sure that we continue moving forward with affordability and sustainability at the same time. I know sustainability is a big issue right now in this election, dealing with the Aggie Green Fund, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit. But at the same time, we cannot compromise affordability. Working to advocate on low tuition increases, making sure that student dollars are spent in the most effective way possible, and that we are not increasing student fees unless it is absolutely necessary. Some of the other things I hope to accomplish in the coming year include the enhancing communication, as we've already talked on, as well as improving that Aggie experience. Making sure that the class of 2014 feels welcome on their first day, and that we make sure that they have the opportunity to get involved in any way possible. And that's something that's very important to me, because to me the most important part of our university is our student body. And everything that I will do as your student body president will have that in mind. Because without our students, there is no Aggie Land, and there is no Texas A&M University, and there's no A&M experience.
Yeah, my legislative agenda next year will consist of a bunch of different things, but if I had to pick a few right now, down in Austin, it will consist of things like textbooks and tuition. Textbooks are always a problem with students all across this great nation. That's not just something we deal here with at A&M. We're going to be looking at textbook buyback programs. We're going to be looking at tax-free textbooks and online textbooks. Also, once again, the tuition. Now here for Aggie Land, it'll be things like tuition, but other things that affect us on a day-to-day basis, construction. Make sure that students are always updated, know what's coming down the road, so we don't run into issues like the grassy knoll and things like that. Dining options, make sure that we have the best dining possible. Meeting with our new director of dining services, make sure they've got great things coming. Looking at this MSC, we got great things. We have maybe a few chains coming. We got great dining options. We got great things coming. Make sure students know about it. And ultimately, the best communication possible. Finding different avenues to communicate with the students here, finding different ways to communicate with former students alike and future students. Make sure that they know what's happening here in Aggie Land.
As I said, I don't believe this is the most important thing next year, but it's a huge thing next year. Is definitely the 5% budget cut, and along with that, the 3.95% tuition increase that the school is looking at to combat that. Talking to the legislature is going to be huge. We currently receive less funding than our friends down there in Austin on every level. We're currently seeking to be a top tier university in the entire country, and our funding should reflect that from all levels. Working with the legislature is going to be key in accomplishing more funding. We're here to learn. And there needs to be funding to learn. The money from us and from students doesn't cover even close to what it costs to run this university. And so we need somebody who's going to fight for more funding from Austin on a day-to-day basis, honestly.
Well, I think when we talk about executive cabinets, there's a need for stability from year to year. The student body president has the opportunity to organize his cabinet how he feels is appropriate. I think that's a good thing to an extent. When you have from year to year an executive cabinet that completely changes the structure, the job responsibilities, that sort of thing, it's difficult to ensure continuity and fluidity from year to year. So I will work to make sure that we establish some sort of line that can be passed down from year to year that will allow us to continue to serve students and get us through that transition process as effectively and efficiently as possible. But at the same time, bring in some new ideas and a fresh perspective on things, maybe tweaking some of the jobs a little bit, enhancing the responsibilities of a couple of the jobs, including the executive vice president, making sure that that role is a little bit better defined, and that those are things that we can hold the individuals in my exec council responsible to over the next year.
All right, Jacob, if you want to discuss your cabinet, any serious changes?
Yeah, being on the exec this year, I've seen where a lot of change needs to take place. But let me say this very first and foremost. Whatever I'm about to say is only a plan. This is not set in stone by any means. What is set in stone is after, if I were to be elected, sitting down with our advisors who have this experience and saying, okay, what is the best options possible? Also, I want any person to know that if they apply to be on exec council and you get the position, I'm not going to say go. I will give you at least a page and probably more of things that I want you to accomplish, a vision that I have for your position, and a very thought out description. You have my word on that. I'm not going to give you this fuzzy, just go stuff and get it done. And then we have this whole what are we doing kind of stuff. Now, one thing that we're going to be looking at, we've looked at taking the executive vice president's role, giving it more responsibility. Maybe have them work with Senate. Chief of staff role, maybe have them work with all the committees opposed to committee liaison. Give them a little bit more responsibility as well as the team. Development officer, we're going to be developing leaders within our exec council, within SGA, and within this university.
Bryan, can we discuss your executive cabinet a little bit?
I'm really glad you asked this question because it is huge. It is super, super important. How your executive staff is organized is going to basically define how it runs and how all of exec runs. I want to sit down, I want to see what needs to get done and who we need to put in charge of those things. And I don't want to have a position that's sitting there and doing nothing. If this person's doing nothing, you know, it completely takes somebody that could be a leader and could be doing something and wasting it on a position that has absolutely no purpose and no direction. And that cannot happen. Like, we only have a year to influence this university. From day one, it has to be set up right, and there has to be time taken, an infinite amount of time taken these next few months after the student body president is elected, to take time and figure out how this is best work. And if it doesn't work well, throw the whole plan out and start all over again, so when it comes to day one, you can implement it